Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Today I'm going to be filming two separate videos. One video which will be a general TBR update and one which will be a TBR update for the Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR. So I went to the library yesterday to pick up more reserves. So I'm going to start off with talking some of those books. The first book that I'm reading right now is called 15 Dogs by Andre Alexis. And I found out about this book through an Instagram post about books by Canadian authors. So far, I am on page 64. The next book that I am reading is A Lady for a Duke by Alexis Hall. This is a historical romance that is about a girl who hides her identity in a war. She fakes death, and she is trying to hide from people that she is transgender. I really like Alexis Hall's writing. So far, I am on page 50. The next book is a reread, Life of Pi by Jan Martel. I first read this book in 2017, and then we saw the movie. I really love this book because it's very ingenious, and with the movie, the thing I liked about it was like how they used CGI to get all the animals into the boat. So right now I am currently on page 80. The next book is called 10 Minutes, 38 Seconds in the Strange World by Elif Shafak. And this book was recommended to me by Carrie. Carrie Can Read. She reviewed this in her January wrap-up and gave it 5 stars. It is a book about a person who works at a bar who gets assaulted and dies from her assault. And the first couple of chapters are like what leads up to the assault and her being dead. And then the rest of the chapter I'm at now is where she's reflecting on her life in the 10 minutes and 38 seconds before she passes away and goes completely brain dead. So, so far I am on page 100. The next book was recommended to me by Gabby at Gabby Reads, and I talked about this in my last reading update video. For further updates on my reading in this book, I am on page 258 and should be able to finish this today. I loved this book. It is a very interesting dystopian book about people waking up one day and all the white people being gone. And I read this for Black History Month, and I really enjoyed it. It's going to get 4.5 stars on Goodreads. The next book I'm reading is Memorial Days by Geraldine Brooks. As I said in my previous video, where I provided reading updates, this is her memoir that she wrote before COVID-19 about her husband dying and how she dealt with her grief. I'm really enjoying this. As I told you in my previous video, Geraldine Brooks was one of my favorite authors of last year. People may be familiar with her books March, People of the Book, and Horse, which I recommend all 3 of those. They were all 4 to 5 star reads for me last year. Currently in Memorial Days, I am on page 137. The next book I'm reading currently is called Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I borrowed this from my mother-in-law yesterday, and it was recommended to me again by Gabby Reads. Gabby Reads is one of the top people that I get reviews from on YouTube. The other top reviewers I get reviews for, in case you want to check out their channels, are These Lyrics and Lines, Jessica and Emmeline. Destiny Sidwell, Rachel Catherine, Sarah Caroli, and as I just said, Gabby Reeds. And, oh, there's one more. Who's the other person? Oh, Haley Pham. So, currently, I just started this a couple of hours ago when I first got up this morning, and I am on page 54. The next book is a buddy read with Anna, one of my friends from New Hampshire. And again, this book was also previously mentioned in my other update video from last week. Since then, I am currently on chapter 30, page 163. The next book is a reread that is a carryover from my January TBR for Chinese New Year TBR, and it is called Dragon Springs Road by Janie Chan. This book focuses on folklore of ancient China and how they thought that foxes were evil. And this makes me also think of Dora the Explorer and how Swiper was an evil character, because I think some of the Chinese folklore also carries over to the folklore of Dora the Explorer, which I think is like Spanish folklore. The next book that I picked up at the library yesterday is Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I got this book recommended to me by a new book reviewer who reviewed books and movies that are made by Miyazaki, who is a Japanese animator. So I have never read this book before, and I'm very excited to read it. It looks really good, and I have not started it yet. I will be starting it today. We are now going to get into my book club books for print bookstore book clubs. The first book that we read for January was Margot's Got Money Troubles by Rufy Thorpe, and I loved this author's writing. This book is about a girl named Margot who has an affair with her college professor and gets pregnant. She has to drop out of school, and she raises her child on her own. The student-teacher relationship in this book reminded me of Ross and Elizabeth on Friends, even though they didn't get as far as having a kid, because obviously Rachel and Ross have Emma together. So the thing that connected me the most to this main character was that she's a social media influencer, and she starts a YouTube channel to raise money so she can raise her kid. She also has a rough relationship with her parents. Her mother is pretty absent, and so is her father, but her father reaches out with her to reconnect with her. He's a professional wrestler, and he gives her advice on how to raise the kid and also how to promote herself for her social media. I gave this book 4.5 stars. The book that we read for Reading the Rainbow Book Club was called Girlhood, and I don't remember much about what I read in that book. I forgot to take notes on it, and I read it at the very end of December, but my rating for it was 3.5 stars. The rating for Margot's Got Money Troubles was 4.75, which is very close to 5. The next book that we read for book club at the bookstore was A Year Without a Name, which is the memoir of Cyrus Dunham. And one line from it that I underlined was, "In the final image, the visible parts of me barely looked human, let alone female. Submitting to her vision was a home of sorts. I was something abstract in her eyes, something more mercurial than girlhood." I highlighted that particular passage because I thought it was a really good description of gender transition surgery, and I just really like this author's writing. This author is the sibling of the actress Lena Dunham, and at book club we kind of talked about how controversial Lena Dunham's memoir was, and I am not sure if this author has a good relationship with her sister or not, with their sister or not, post-transition. The next book that we read for book club at Books and Brews that Rachel Conrad runs is Poems, Helen of Troy, 1993. So this is a reimagining of the Helen of Troy Greek myth, and it's all in poetry. I think this is my favorite book that I've read for Rachel's book club because I'm very into Greek myth retellings and very into poetry. And my favorite lines from the poems, oops, I went by it. Where is it? Are on page 8. I give him arrows, my lover, hearts and kisses, silk petals in the centerfold, $1.99 before tax, envelope like fogged glass. From Helen of Troy in February. And this poem is basically about Valentine's Day and her going to the store to find a Valentine's Day card. I love the imagery of this poem, and it's like perfect for the month of February. The next line of poetry I wanted to share is the Spartan woman discusses the local waterfowl. A creature past the point of endurance becomes an extremis, a lantern of heaven. Some lights set to music drown themselves before the chorus, others deconstruct. I just think the writing in this book is beautiful, and I highly recommend this if you are into poetry and Greek myth. I'm going to give it 5 stars on Goodreads. The final book that we read for book club, this is our March pick for Reading the Rainbow, and our meeting is on March 10th. This book is called The Empress of Salt and Fortune. It's a novella that is set in Imperial China during the time of the war that I think Mulan is set in. And I think this is a really interesting book because it gives insight into a period in history where LGBTQ couples were not recognized, kind of like A Lady for a Duke as well. I have read 2 other books by Ningbo, and I really enjoy her writing style. The other 2 books that I have read by her were When the Tiger Comes Down the Mountain and The Chosen and the Beautiful, which is a sapphic retelling of The Great Gatsby from Jordan's perspective. And I give all of Ningbo's books 4.5 stars. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good weekend, everybody.